Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode. Today we're going to talk about the difference between Crowfall and New World. You might think, is New World and Crowfall the same game or are they actually very different? Well, short answer is they are very different, but let's get directly to it. So when talking about Crowfall and New World, we have a lot of things to discuss, like a lot of small details and big details, because Crowfall New World is not the same game. It's very different. It's two MMORPGs which both are releasing this year. Well, Crowfall has just released and New World is releasing just around the corner, but still, even though they are MMORPGs, they are very different. Let's go to the first details. So for example, like basic information about the games. Crowfall is made by Artcraft, New World is made by Amazon Game Studio. Crowfall was revealed back in 2015 and also was a Kickstarter project, where New World was revealed back in 2016 and it was basically a self-paid Amazon game. So they just had a lot of money and said we want to make new games. Pretty cool. Crowfall is released on July 6 in 2021, so basically just recently, and New World is going to release on August 31, which is also very soon. Crowfall is being played through their own launcher, where New World is using Steam. Both of the games cost $40, but with Crowfall you can actually use content creator codes or friend codes and get 10% off. So for example, if you use the code Dvalin, you can get 10% off, which is pretty smart. But that is just the basic information about the game. When talking about characters and like creating a character in each of these games, like creating a character is a very important thing in MMORPGs. In Crowfall you basically have 12 races which are pretty unique and have different spells and stats and so on. And they have 11 classes, which is the standard classes from MMO. You have like the Fire Mage, the Frost Mage, the Knight, the Paladin, stuff like that. It's not called a Paladin, but it's called the Templar. And each of these classes have also like 3 different subclasses, like sub-specs. So basically the game has 11 classes but 33 subclasses. They have very simple customization, but that's because they have a lot of races, so they have a lot of things to cover. But each race has like 4 different faces, hairstyles and different skin colors and stuff like that. It's pretty fun to look at. You should definitely see it. And of course they have the male female, you can say, compilations, and also your character you play in Crowfall is not really you. It's like you are a soul of a crow, like a soul of a fighter, and you have your body, your character, as a vessel. So basically when you switch character, you're just switching vessel, your body, which you can upgrade and get up to maximum level, but that's another story. New World therefore is a game where you create one character. Like Crowfall is an alt-friendly game where you have many characters for like getting up to everything, but in New World there is basically one character you play. That means also there's one race to play, and that character you create, which only can be human, can therefore also use the 11 different weapon masteries. In Crowfall you have 11 classes, but in New World you have 11 weapon mastery, which you can basically use on one character. All of them, you just have to level them up. Also, each of these weapon masteries has 2 specs inside them with different spells. So basically in New World you have 22 sub-masteries, where in Crowfall you have 33 sub-classes. New World has a very heavy customization in the game. Since they only have one race, they have a lot of different options for your character. The game is genderless. You basically just choose your body type, but you don't choose if you're male or female. So talk about the thing that really separates New World from Crowfall, or Crowfall from New World, is how the game works. Basically we're going to talk about how the server structure is and the worlds. So basically New World is a standard MMORPG, a standard theme park MMORPG where you have PvE, you have PvP, you have dungeons, you have open world stuff, the standard game with open world PvP, faction war, stuff like that. So basically in New World you have a server list, you have a world set list. You can only play on one world set, because if, for example, one of the servers you play on gets very low populated, then they merge some of the world sets in together. So basically you play on one server. You can of course create another character on another server, but it wouldn't really make sense since the game is all about having one character that gets strong. Then you have Territories War, and Territories Wars in New World is basically the whole map you have in the game can be captured by different factions. There's only 3 factions: green, purple and yellow. And then you have to choose one of the factions you want to join and basically fight about the world to capture the world. And So you can see that's like how the world and servers work in New World, where in Crowfall you basically create your characters, but you're not bound to a world, because in Crowfall they have things called campaigns. So for example, right now we have a campaign called Drex. I think it was lasting 20 days or something like that. And while we have the campaign called Drex, it's all about guild versus guild. So basically you have tons of guilds who fight over a very big map with tons of castles, sieges, forts. You know, imagine these big battles with castles and fort and a lot of people who fighting, catapults, all that. But every time the campaign ends, after the days it's set to, the world gets destroyed, a new world gets started, and it has different rule sets. It has different, even it could be guild versus guild or faction versus faction, so you can join one of the 3 factions and join even more people, so you don't have to think about guilds, for example. But also, so they have guild versus guild, faction versus factions, and every time they start these new campaigns, it could basically be different rules. Like it could be full loot, so when you die, you lose all your equipment. For example, right now you just lose everything you have in an inventory when you're doing the campaign and stuff like that. It's pretty cool. And also the campaign always looks different. Like imagine it's like Lego blocks, so they're like moving around the parts, the castle, they're changing how the world looks, if it's snow, not snow. So the game in Crowfall is never the same, always changing, but of course you still have your character always, your progress and your gear. So that's the cool thing about Crowfall, which is you have your character, but you play in these different worlds and campaigns, and it's all about PvP, where in New World it's a basic MMO, where you basically just do dungeons, open world stuff, crafting, you know, you get what I mean. You have a standard theme park MMO over at New World over here, and then you have Crowfall, which is a PvP game that is all about having fun with guilds, friends, and playing in different worlds. Very exciting. Next thing is we're going to talk about PvP and PvE. So in PvP and PvE in New World and Crowfall is kind of different, because PvP in Crowfall, as I just talked about, it's all about these campaigns which gets generated, created for a couple of days or months, whatever it could be, and then it's all about castle siege, fort siege, open world, like big battles all around. Imagine a game where you just fight all the time over very big maps, constantly open world fight with high risk, no risk. It's all changing every campaign. Super fun. Of course, we have also then open world, we have the campaigns, we have housing battles. So basically you can create your own world, like your own little house world, and then you can invite friends over and have some PvP tournaments, stuff like that. PvE in Crowfall is basically only open world. There's some bosses going around, there are camps, so you can go out around and kill, like camps with monsters where you can farm items and gold. And then you have a new player experience, like a tutorial where you can play through some quests, you know, like a basic MMO where you play through quests, kill that, kill this, talk with this person. But after that, the game is pretty much just about PvP and like all these fun stuff that you're gonna do in these big castle fights. Where in New World, it's more like the standard theme park MMO where you have battlegrounds, faction versus faction on the map, fort sieges, open world, duels, like you can click on another person and duel him. In PvE they have open world, of course, monsters walking around. They have dungeons and expeditions. That's the thing in Crowfall, you don't have dungeons in Crowfall since the game is more about PvP. But in New World you have the standard classic dungeons, the expeditions, you have battlegrounds, which is instanced PvP, so basically you're like 20 versus 20. But the cool thing in battlegrounds is that you can both win it through PvE or PvP, because there's like different things you can do in there. You have the questing on New World. New World is a standard MMO where you pick up a quest, main quest, side quest, and you walk around and talk with a lot of people and doing quests all the time. Where in Crowfall it's all about PvP fights. But also in New World PvE you have invasions, where basically you have to defend a keep that gets invaded by a lot of zombies and, well, corrupted people, and you have to defend it off. So you can see this is the difference between Crowfall and New World. That New World is a standard theme park MMO with very unique combat. Well, combat in Crowfall and New World is pretty close to each other. Where in Crowfall you have PvP that is heavily strong, and it's all about. So if you're really looking for a game where you just fight over big castles and forts all the time with massive battles, Crowfall is probably the answer for you. But if you're looking more for the classic theme park MMO where you can walk around, you know, kill some deers, craft some stuff, do some dungeons, do some PvP, then New World is probably the game for you. So now we're going to talk about crafting in Crowfall and New World and what's the difference between them. So first of all, in Crowfall, you have gathering, crafting, and upgrading your disciplines. So basically in Crowfall, you will be acquiring or buying these disciplines, which will make you better in harvesting wood, mining ore, digging up like dead bodies parts to get stronger vessels, stuff like that. There's like a lot of crafting, armor, weapon, armor, weapon, stuff like that. But in Crowfall, like you probably ask, why would I craft in Crowfall when it's a PvP game? I just want to kill people. Well, let me tell you about that, because in Crowfall, crafting is more than just what it means to a character. It is a critical factor for guilds to have crafted gear, weapons, siege equipments, and other needs to win sieges. Secondly, it's critical for guilds, or the factions, or your personal economy, as we need gold to buy critical goods. And crafting gives us the ability to earn the gold through combat, or buying, selling, trading. But it is more like a currency in Crowfall, necessary, valuable in multiple areas of the game and critical in winning competitive throne war battles. So basically you can see Crowfall crafting is like, it's something you need. You really need it to win these battles because it's so good. So that's, you can say, the benefits of Crowfall. In New World, it's more like the standard theme park MMO where you have gathering, refining, crafting, and it's like the standard MMORPGs where every time you gather wood, every time you mine an ore, every time you craft a sword, you increase your levels in your crafting or refining or gathering. It's more like personal in New World because you can craft gear, you can trade it on auction house. It's more like the theme park MMOs where you just craft for your own fun, craft for your guild, It's more loose because you can also get gear in dungeons and stuff like that. So crafting in my world is more important in Crowfall than New World. It's more like a thing you just like to do. That is probably the main factors between Crowfall and New World, that in Crowfall it's very urgent. In New World it's more like it's something you can do or you cannot, but it's still good. It's still gonna reward you. And then to end this video, we're just going to talk about Endgame, which basically is Crowfall. Your endgame is get to level 30. As your soft level, then you can go to level 35, but it requires to upgrade your vessel, your body, and it can be a grind, like a heavily grind. So it's not like other MMOs where you just fast go to max level and then you play the game. Going to 35 is a grind that requires crafting, helps from friends, guilds, whatever, but it's full. When you get up to level 35, it's super rewarding because it was a fight. Then of course in Crowfall it's all about crafting. You have the campaigns, which is changing all the time, so the game feels new all the time. You have the faction versus faction, or else guild versus guild, and you of course have the gear crafting in Crowfall. The reason why I'm saying gear crafting is because the game is most gear craftable. It's like easier to get gear through crafting than it is actually to get from drops. Of course you can get from drops or from PvP. If you play one where you drop inventory, then of course you can get it from killing people, but that's all about luck. Where in New World, the end game is basically go to max level, which is 60, do quests, dungeons, whatever you want, just go up to max level 60. Then it's all about crafting, tutorial wars, where you basically have war over the whole map, because you want to fight with your faction and control the whole map, and the faction who has different maps get, like bonuses. Then you have the faction wars, and you have gear grinding. Gear grinding is also meaning that you have dungeons, and you're basically gonna spam dungeons for getting gear and stuff like that. Where in Crowfall you don't spam dungeons for getting gear, but New World is more a traditional theme park MMO where you spam dungeons, spam crafting for getting gear. Where Crowfall is more about either crafting gear or going into PvP and kill people and get lucky with their loot, stuff like that. So in overall, both of these games are super different. You have New World, which is very standard theme park MMO, and you have Crowfall, which is a throne war game, all about conquering the world, throne war battles all the time, all about PvP, baby. So this is the two games, Crowfall New World, and the difference between them. I hope you enjoyed this video. Leave down a comment, let me know what you think, and else, thanks for watching. See you in another video.